take on an origin? Okay, yesterday you told us you traveled, and I quote, thousands of light years to get here. Yes. Tell us the truth, or the word, or another way. It is truth. So I take it aliens took over our future, right? So you're human. Okay, so you evolved from us. So what are you doing here now? How?
Welcome to the Backyard Professor videos live, videos live, etc. Oh yeah, I had to show that, let you know that the UFOs are real and the aliens are real. Now I've got a really fun show tonight. I think we're gonna have some fun with this because I think this subject is really important and extremely interesting. The stigma and the shaming and the negative of talking about it is going away, in large part because of Luis Elizondo's book, among other things. And I know there's been a lot going on in the background besides Luis Elizondo's book. Lou was an inside government worker. Now, I've had this book for the last couple of months, and I began reading it piecemeal. I don't like reading books piecemeal like that, so I put it down. I picked it up yesterday. What I did is I watched a couple of YouTube videos talking about Lou's book, and there are a few podcasters who were trying to describe what they liked about the book, what they disliked about the book, some of the issues with contradictions and potential lies, and then they admitted that they had never read the book. And I'm going, what in the hell? You can't review a book without reading it, whether you do it in a book review written or a YouTube video discussion. If you're going to talk about a book, then read it first, for Pete's sake. So yesterday, I picked this book up, and it is so good, I couldn't put it down. I read the whole book. I'm going to encourage you to get it. The UFO issue. Hey, Mark Crispin, how you doing? Say hi to everybody. Flat Pat, Tim Rathbone, good to see you guys. The UFO issue is here. We're just going to have to face the music here, folks. We have turned a corner in our society. Now, I'm not going to give you the conclusions. I'm going to give you the various points of view. I'm going to share with you the ideas. I'm going to give you some of the philosophies. I'm going to give you some of the problems. I'm going to share some video clips with you of some of the truly great investigators and players in this game of UFO, where is the UFO? They're here. That's where they are. In our self-vaunted importance as humans, we ask, well, why don't they show themselves to us? They do. And this is what is so fascinating. So Luis Elizondo, now this is him. I've got a clip of him as well. Hey, by way of just a quick survey. Hey, Rooney Phoenix. Yeah, I guess you could say the truth is out there. Woohoo! Yeah, it really is. By way of a quick survey, if you've read this book, type a number 1 in the comments in the comment section, and if you haven't read it, type a number 2. I'm not going to shame you if you haven't read it. I want to know who I'm talking to and so on and so forth. Thomas Webster, good to see you from Washington D.C. Hey, you're an important man right here. I'll tell you what. I have been just nonstop reading this book, listening to others' interpretations of this book. Thank you. Appreciate that. More of you give me either a 1 or a 2. 1, you've read it. 2, you haven't. Because, and the reason I'm asking, and I'm not trying to, I really appreciate you coming on the show, but I'm going to give you some spoilers in the book. I hope that does not discourage you from reading this incredibly interesting book. Now, I've been learning the ins and outs. I am well aware of the debate, the argument, the debacle, the fight between Luis Elizondo and Mr. Greer. I'm well aware of that discussion. I know there are folks on both sides of that. Some people like Lou, some people like Greer. Some people think Lou is a scoundrel and a lie and a government plant. Other people think Greer is a grifter and he's in it for the money. I get all of that. Oh, thank you, Tim. I will do that. Yes. So I'm aware of the issues. For the sake of this video, I'm going for this discussion tonight. I say video because this automatically records it. I'm going to share with you my comments on Lou's book, and I'm going to assume he's telling the truth. Overall, his credibility is truly amazing and impressive. I do think everyone more or less agrees with that. Thanks, Tim. I'll check it out. One of the controversial things about this that really surprised me in Elizondo is he was involved in remote viewing, doing it himself, and he says it works. Now, look, I was born and raised on the likes of Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Carl Sagan, the popularizers of science, and yet the skeptics of woo-woo. And in my youth, that meant religion and UFOs, flying saucers, little green men, interviews with aliens like I showed you at the top of the show. That does not go over well with people who were born and raised in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, as I was. And so this was startling to me to see that the government did, we mocked the Soviets actually when it came out that they were using psychics and trying to develop ESP in their soldiers and remote viewing and all. We just laughed like crazy. We said, well, there's nothing to fear from them idiots then. We're going to use real Newtonian physics, quantum physics, and the mathematics of Einstein to defeat our enemies if we ever go to war. That's how we defeated them in World War II, etc., The real science, not the woo-woo. And that was our approach. And that's how we discussed it with people. Tim says, I can tell you remote viewing works, I can do it. Okay, there we have it. Well, Luis Elizondo came out and said there was a government program and he also learned how to do it. So this is an eye-opener for me. Very remarkable. The other thing was discovering that now Edgar Mitchell, one of the astronauts, I believe he's the astronaut that hit the golf ball on the moon, among other things. I got to meet Dr. Mitchell when I was living in Las Vegas back in 1991 for a year. I went to a Universal Unitarian gathering, and there were just hundreds of us. And he was gracious enough with his time to let us, he waited and we got to go in line, and every one of us got to shake that man's hand. And he agreed. He admitted when a woman just directly in front of my wife and I asked him, "Do you really believe there are aliens?" He said, "Oh, yes, there are aliens. We've seen them." Yeah, absolutely. And so it was very interesting to me to see that Edgar Mitchell was involved in the program of collecting parts of the crashed UFO saucers and in reverse engineering them, which means we look at the parts and we try to figure out, what did this do? Can we build this? Now, I get it. There's a lot of us who have already know all of this stuff. There's millions of people who do not know anything at all about Lou's book or about the information in it. So we're all at various stations in life. So I get it if it's too redundant for you, those of you who've already read this. For me, this was an eye-opener, and I'm sharing it for all of you that way too. So, Carrie, what are your thoughts on the Elohim being a pantheon of Sumerian gods? I'll get to that, Paul. Welcome, by the way, Paul Quilter. So, oh, hey, Debbie Donovan. Oh, it's your favorite subject. Well, you're bound to be happy that I'm jumping on this bandwagon hard then, for sure. I will, thank you. Hey, E70, 170 grams. So, Eric Davis is one of them who came out and told us that we actually do have ancient alien vehicles in our possession. Now, who among us in my teenage years back in the 1970s, legitimately for real, who among us did not mock and make fun of that in our teenage years? Because, and Lou documents this very well, there was a systematic government program to throw out disinformation, weather balloons, swamp gas. We've heard all that. We know all about all that obfuscation on purpose, because the government did not know how to handle a superior technology. They downplayed it while they tried to catch up. That's kind of my interpretation of this. Lou doesn't quite say it that way in his book, but that's how I'm viewing it. I'm happy to be filled in and added, you know. So, yes, Lockheed is a big part of this, absolutely. Roswell was real. So, and I have, the way Lou and many others, Diane Walsh Pasulka is another one. Chris Bledsoe is another one. Gary Nolan is another one. There's just so many people who have come out and said, but the way Lou describes the story in his book is after he got his job, they called a meeting and they called him in and they said, well, we need to bring you up to speed in this new program that we're having you be a part of, this investigation of the UFOs. And it was a little later that they began calling them UAPs, but we need to bring you up to speed. So just realized that it actually began back in 1947 in Roswell. And Lou basically said he did one of these. He went, huh? You mean Roswell was real? And the guy looked at him and Lou was just standing there dumbfounded. And the guy goes, yeah, Elizondo, Roswell was real. We do have some of the craft. And in fact, we have some alien bodies. It's time to take a very deep breath. How many people have suffered through that brutal, heinous campaign of disinformation and mockery and ruined careers for coming out and saying just that. Now, see, this, here we go again. I go through, the reason I wanted to review this book is because I go through that emotion, because the same shit happened to me as a Mormon. The same, what do you call it? Culture shock? The same cognitive dissonance of trying to stick the square peg in a round hole, realizing, man, this don't work. This can't be right. And so disbelieving Mormonism. Well, now I come to find out that my own damn government's been arguing incorrectly. Well, Luis Elizondo covers all that. And they have, but now part of it could be because they were embarrassed because, look, the real revelation here, there's no way to ease you into this. The real revelation here is we are not the pinnacle of God's creation. Humans, us, we here on earth. We ain't the best and we ain't the brightest. We are not the kid at the head of the class. Now, that's a bitter pill to swallow. And Elizondo, and we've seen, come on, 90% of us have seen the videos that have that, right? I mean, Joe Rogan just went blitzoid on this. The Air Force pilot who shared the radar images of those little Tic Tacs flying so bloody fast that there's no way any of our technology can catch them. Dropping from 80,000 feet in the sky right down to the edge of the water in less than 1 second, and then going under the water and traveling at 3,000 miles an hour. That's nobody's technology here on Earth, right? So this is part of the culture shift. This is part of the psychology, the reorganizing of our minds, of our, hopefully we can get through this type thing, right? But we can, because I am an eternal optimist. We are resilient, right? So, oh, and I want to read this part because this made sense to me. Now, and I know there are people who say Elizondo is a two-faced liar. You can't trust him. Okay, I'm not going to argue the merits or demerits of anyone tonight. I'm just simply reviewing his book from my perspective. Okay, so I'm on page 45 and 46. Now it makes sense how we have pieces of the craft of the UFOs that crashed. I have never understood here. Okay, with the assumption, let's just go with the assumption for the moment. Maybe it didn't do it this way, but assuming for the minute that they are from deep interstellar space. We all know about the problem of traveling at the speed of light and all that. We are so flipping far away, it would take hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years just to get to the nearest next galaxy, right? There's no way we can do it. So how did a superior craft crash? How did we bring down a UFO? Come on. The story is so obviously ridiculous, okay? When you stop and realize we're looking at superior technology here. Okay, so if the story is so ridiculous, why on earth would they feed us with this stupid line, right? Who came up with this? But Elizondo's description of this is really interesting, and I want to read this to you. So, and here it is, and it's on this part where he's first told about Roswell. Well, it all goes back to Roswell in 1947. And he said, that is the most enticing one-liner I had ever heard. Wait, Roswell was real? I asked. Hal looked at me, clearly weighing whether to bring me further into his circle of trust. Yes, Lou, it was real. You mean to tell me that a UAP actually crashed and we covered it up? That's exactly what happened, he replied. I went quiet and let his words sink in. Well, look, to me, this is as stunning a revelation to me as it was to Lou. And so he goes on and he said, is every incoming president told the truth? No. Well, what about Congress? What about the Gang of Eight? I said, referring to the legendary bipartisan group of political leaders supposedly charged with knowing all of America's black programs. Hal explained the sad truth is DOD regards presidents, elected officials, and political appointees as temporary hires, so there's no reason to give them all the information. No matter how you cut that, that's difficult to read. That's difficult to realize. So, like Neo in the movie The Matrix, I inhaled that red pill. Tell me more. So here's how we crashed. Oh, thank you, Flat Pat. That's very kind of you. Here's how we crashed that UFO. That's when I started to learn about the U.S. government's secret history with UAP. At the dawn of the nuclear age, UAP started appearing in far greater numbers. It's on page 46 of Lou's book, Imminent. And sometimes they crashed, which is so hard to grasp, right? They fly interstellar distances from light years away. They get here to Earth and they crash. I mean, WTF, man. But just hear this out. I thought this was fascinating. And it might give us a clue. That's what I liked about this. Roswell was one of those instances. A UAP fell that day in the vicinity of a government test facility in New Mexico, and it broke into 2 crash sites. At first, government investigators assumed that the Roswell craft were from another nation, maybe some sort of a reconnaissance mission gone awry. But within hours, the U.S. Army realized the truth, that these craft were not made by humans. It was hypothesized that the UAP that crashed at Roswell had been conducting some sort of reconnaissance on our budding atomic program when the unexpected happened. An electromagnetic pulse generated from one of the nearby test ranges had inadvertently intervened with the crash technology and caused it to crash because of the gigantic pulse out of a nuclear bomb. Everything electrical around it is shut down. Perhaps that's why so that tells us there has to be something electrical, perhaps, with these craft. And I thought, man, that is remarkably interesting to me. I had never before thought that. So there you have that. And again, I'm just going to be touching bits and pieces on Elizondo's book here. And the cover-up strategy of the United States government was simply to admit nothing, deny everything, make counter-accusations, retrieve the pieces of the crashed craft, whisk the retrieved materials away to undisclosed locations, work in secret to reverse engineer anything they could do, and then intimidate witnesses into saying nothing. That was, in essence, the government strategy there. Yes? I want to say welcome to all of you new viewers, by the way. Thank you for showing up. I hope you enjoy this review of Lou's book. I will be doing a lot more on this subject, so welcome everybody. So here's the other, and this is what disconcerted so many in this program that was hidden within the hidden government within our government. I know this thing has layers, man. It goes way deep. So here's what happened. Here's what causes concern is this. The majority of the activity of these UFOs, UAPs, they call them UAPs now, UFOs, most of them are around uranium mines and nuclear facilities. And so we're concerned. That makes sense. We have no choice. So there we have it. The connection to water is, and that continues to this day, is they really do have a reason for liking water. And in fact, they may be living under the ocean. Just saying. So it is very interesting that Elizondo, I will read this part too. I've got it marked. It's just a small part. There is an unidentified phenomenon now that we have admitted to, and we apparently, I have not seen it. A lot of people have not seen it. Only those in the know have seen it. It's aggravating the hell out of an awful lot of us. I get all that. I'm just here reporting my impressions on Elizondo's book. We need to voice up and let the government know they need to start opening up. Otherwise, it's still going to be kept from us. Okay, so this phenomena is interacting with the current human population on Earth. I'm on page 57. It is currently unknown whether the phenomenon is exclusively extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, crypto-dimensional. We don't know if they are demons or jinns or angels, humans, ancient humans, time-traveling humans, like that little alien interview at the top of the show, or some combination or a mutation of all of these. However, it appears highly likely that the phenomenon per se is not constituted exclusively of members of the current human population. In other words, they ain't us. This is electrifying. This is huge. So, the way the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War actually worded their nuclear treaties is because the UAPs were flying to those facilities in the Soviet Union and shutting off their warheads. And then they were flying over to our top secret installations. No one knew where we had hidden them. These UAPs flew right to them and turned them off. And nobody could turn them back on either. In one terrifying instance, the UAPs, I can't remember where it was at. I've got it here somewhere. I'll just tell you and you can read it in Lou's book. The UAPs turned the warheads on in another country. And those were warheads pointing at the United States, us. And the countdown began, and they immediately phone called the United States and said, damn it, this is not us. We aren't controlling this. Watch out. Warheads are coming your way soon. Someone turned these on. Now, that's absolutely horrifying. They let it go right down to the second they were going to launch, and then they shut it off. Now, overall, Alessandro's tone his approach, his understanding, his basic assumption is that these things are not our friends. They are not benign. It scares him. They are here with bad blood's not quite the, well, maybe bad blood. So I don't know where I stand. I really don't. But we now know that they can control our electronics without question. We now know they can control our nuclear capabilities without question. And if that doesn't bother you, you're not quite getting the gist of this. This is absolutely deadly serious. This is a national security issue. It is why Elizondo insisted on disclosure. It's why Greer has been arguing about disclosure. It's why it is so important. We have to know, if it had been anybody else out there, man, if we discovered that the Chinese hacked our computers, or the Russians, or the Ukrainians, or the Africans, or whoever had hacked into our computers and was fiddling with our nuclear weapons, we would be at war right now with that nation. We would be bombing the absolute living hell out of them. But we can't hardly capture the UAPs on radar. They're so fast. They're so slippery. They're way beyond us in advanced technological capabilities. So there's not a lot we can do. Well, okay, so that makes Elizondo and tens of millions of people a little bit on edge, as it should properly. That's not a comfortable situation to be in. So why are they paying attention to us? And especially since we dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. From that time in our history, the UAPs have become numerous. And they've become numerous around the world, not just in those nations that have the nuclear capabilities. And of course, more and more nations have acquired this power. And it is dangerous for our society. It is dangerous for our planet. My sincere hope is that we have the collective will to not commit civilization-side. I hope we can solve this problem. If not, I really do hope the UAPs can. I hope they're here to help, not enslave us. And I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm not going down conspiracy lane tonight. I'm just saying out loud, reality we've turned a corner. There's no other way to describe this, you guys. This is serious. So that's another part of Lou's book that was positive. I mean, I can feel it in my heart right now. That upsets me. That upsets me. That's not comfortable in any manner. So now, mind-bogglingly enough, Lou Elizondo, the government official, the whistleblower, I get it. There's some who says he's not a genuine whistleblower. I'm not going to argue any of that tonight. I'm just simply telling you why I found his book to be such a fantastic book to read. Lou Elizondo, in asking, and he just briefly touches it, it will be something that I make a lot of videos on. Okay, so, but he brings up the book of Enoch by name, the book of Enoch. Now, as you begin to get into this, and I will be one of those that do this kind of a discussion analysis of the various different books of Enoch, the Nephilim, the Watchers, the Fallen Ones, etc. He brings that up. So this isn't necessarily a science book per se, even though it is a quintessential scientific book. But when, how long has this been going on? And he goes back into the ancient materials, the books of Enoch. He talks about the Nephilim, the Watchers, the angels, and the aliens, and the demons, etc. So I get it. There's people on all sides. I'm not here to pick a side tonight. That's not what I'm going to be doing. And I agree with Lou here. I'm on page 63. On paper, Enoch's travels didn't sound that dissimilar to reported non-human encounters as we humans have been describing being abducted and ascending up into a different place. That's what he's getting at. Remarkably interesting parallels. Furthermore, I'm not advocating the ancient astronaut hypothesis that many believe today, but dang it, man, don't label me here. Don't label me. Don't tell me. Don't let me see myself being misquoted on other stupid channels when they say, hey, did you hear? The backyard professor believes Eric von Däniken now. What a nut job. I am not saying I believe Eric von Däniken because I don't. But he's been on this thesis for a long time now. The ancient astronaut thesis. I'm not advocating it. Lou's not advocating it. But isn't it amazing that in a government science book of opening up and showing the UFOs are real, that he's mentioning this material? So how long, how far back does this go? I will be doing books. Look, Elijah's chariot, the wheeled vehicle, the fiery chariot in the book of Kings in the Old Testament. I get it. We think horse chariot. I get it. Because what else could they have called it? But what was that came from the sky with wheels, grabbed a guy, and took off and disappeared and took him with it? I mean, come on. If you just come up into the 1990s, you get the same thing. It's just that the people's name isn't Elijah. Now it's Betty and Barney Hill or whoever else, right? You kind of got to go, dang. Thousands of years later, the same stuff. What about Ezekiel's wheeled throne? Look, I'm not here to convince anybody about any religious view at all. I don't care if you believe it or not. I don't care what you think about the Bible. Ezekiel's description of the throne is one of the wildest things in the Old Testament, chapter 1. If you think it's weird in English, you ought to read it in the Hebrew. It is astonishing. What is that thing? How come? Now, get this. Margaret Barker. I'm a Margaret Barker fan. I've been reading her books. My audience here about a month ago helped me purchase her newest material, and I've been making videos and sharing it with us. The actual throne in the Holy of Holies of the Temple of Solomon was a wheeled chair. That description, why wheeled? What did they mean? It doesn't matter what mental image we have of it, we're just not going to get it right. But the very fact that description, and there's no other furniture item, there's no other building item that is remotely as weird, different than Ezekiel's chariot. And what about Isaiah's vision when he said he went up, and he claims it was a vision, into the Holy of Holies, because when you go into the Holy of Holies in the ancient temple, you are making an ascension. You get into the Holy of Holies. There's the chariot with the cherubim, and it's light. There's fire. You ascend to heaven and you see the one on the throne. Let's say, just for pure speculation's sake, a craft 700 BC. Now just ponder this with me. 700 BC comes flying through the air. It's making noise, growlings, the voice of God. It sounded like thunder and great rushing waters. That's how they described this. And lands. What else could you think of except God's here? And wouldn't you put that, or wouldn't you create something that resembles what you saw come from the sky and land and instruct you? Would you not create the most holy item in your shrine and put it in there and call it the Holy of Holies? I know, man, this crap gets wild, I'm telling you. But that's what we're looking at. Well, and the reason I'm bringing all this up is because Elizondo does. It's amazing. This is really interesting. Jacob's Ladder is another one, right? So you say, well, are these stories merely instructive, or are they feeble attempts by humans to reconcile their bewilderment over seeing otherworldly technology? How do we describe the craft? How many different descriptions do we have? A tic-tac? Really? Well, some of us claim it's like a flying saucer. Others have described a long cigar cylinder. And so, see, the government in its campaign of disinformation sought to discredit witnesses because they said, well, if it's not always described the same, then they're obviously making it up, or they didn't see anything, etc. That's contradictory. It's none of those. It might actually be, and I can't remember which program I just saw this on. I've been watching so many programs this last week where they said that there are 5 different species of alien. One's the grays, they're tall. One's the reptilian, one are the shorter ones, etc. Tall ones are in charge. So anyway, I'm just sharing this. In Western Australia, there are 4,000-year-old Aboriginal rock paintings that depict the Wandjina spirit beings with big white heads, large eyes, and little or no mouths. I do have some books on the Hopis and their religious ways by Frank Waters. I also have books on the rock petroglyphs in the desert Southwest in the United States. Those Native Americans call the Kachina dolls the star people. The Navajo prophecy describes that when the blue Kachina comes back from the sky, get ready, it's over. I'm somewhat misstating that, but the blue orb in the sky, be careful. We're approaching the very end. Now, nobody's seen the blue orb yet, but Chris Bledsoe says he sees a lot of orbs, and beings come out of those orbs. A little later tonight, I will explain how that's entirely possible based on the technological innovations that we have come up with right now. We're beginning to understand these things. So anyway, so on and on and on. So, government facade of ridicule, I wrote. UAPs has trifled with our nuclear installations, as I've said. So the question we have to ask us is, and this resets our you and me, us modern day skeptics, us modern day disbelievers and believers alike, none of us are getting away from this. This affects us all. So what about those ancient miracle stories? Now, you laugh and mock and ridicule them, you know. Everyone reads Dawkins and quit believing in ancient miracles because, of course, no miracles happens to Dawkins, and what doesn't happen to Dawkins can't possibly be real. All you have to do is ask him. He'll tell you, right? But now, wait a minute. Modern, quote, miracles are now attested by eyewitnesses exactly of the caliber of Chris Bledsoe. Bledsoe is the most tested, analyzed man in history. From every government agency checking into his story, that the NASA and the DIA and the CIA and the ABC and the LMNOP, you name every acronym you can that's governmental, they have checked into Chris Bledsoe's story and they have found him credible. He's written his book on this, The UFO of God. Well, he says that he's been healed. Now, there's a modern day miracle, and there are witnesses to that. What do we do with that? I mean that. I mean that for real, not in mockery at all. Someday I would really love to get Chris on my show. I don't know if I can or not. I'm going to try. That would be spectacular to talk to him about his situation. So this idea of miracles now, have we been wrong? See, this is part of it, man. It's what I'm telling you. Our psychological approach to our fellow human beings who have experiences we don't, and instead of learning and understanding from them, we've mocked, we've spit on them, we've even killed them, as bad as through crucifixion. And you know who I'm hinting at. I'll share something with you a little later tonight on that too, because we can't comprehend it, so it didn't happen. Well, now this is part of our adjustment coming up, right? Yeah. Fascinating. Absolutely amazing. And here's one I'm going to whiz way over here to, I'm going to skip and skip and skip and go to page 109. I want you to listen very carefully to this. This just, bam, grabbed my attention immediately. This is insanely amazing. This is amazing to me. So, a UAP encountered by an Iranian pilot in 1976 seemed to have anticipated the precise moment that the human pilot was about to fire an AIM-9 missile at the craft. At that instance, the pilot's control panel failed. He only recovered control and saved his life when the UAP disappeared from sight. He was going to fire on the UAP, and it stopped him, stopping his electronic circuitry in his jet. Like I said, superior technology. This is amazing. So, in 1982, a UAP did exactly what a civilian witness wished it would come closer to him. He saw it at a great distance. And he said, man, would that not be spectacular if that thing came closer to me? And it did. Now, the amazing thing is, it changed its course and it flew right toward this individual's car. When the driver became terrified, he sensed a message in his mind telling him, don't be afraid. I know it's circumstantial, But in so many accounts in the ancient scriptures, in the ancient texts, I told you I'm going to stick on the religious side of this, all right? In the ancient text, when an angel shows up, the human reaction is terror, not just, oh, don't hurt me. No, terror. They're crapping their pants. It's so terrifying because of that power, that glory, that heat, that otherworldly apparition. And the angel tells them, oh, fear not. I'm not here to hurt you. Don't be afraid. It's okay. I'm here to tell you something. The UAP does the same thing. All right. So, one of the little reasons why I'm sincerely hoping these are angels, not demons. I'm not saying they are or aren't. I have no idea what they are, and neither does anybody else. And I might be wrong because my experiences aren't everyone else's experiences, so I got to be careful that way also. So it's just very interesting. And this part is what I want to read to you as well, because based on the information that Danny Sheehan has been sharing, that Luis Elizondo, not through Danny Sheehan, but this is Lou talking, experiments by DARPA, DARPA in the past, showed that pilots can indeed remotely control an aircraft using their thoughts and a special interface. Pay very close attention here. We have been doing experiments and we can now fly by using our thoughts. A helmet specially designed to interpret thought and a pilot's brainwaves and translate them to electronic signals that control the aircraft. Honeywell Aerospace has worked on a similar technology for more than a decade. UAP could use the same sort of technology, at least in principle. What if some otherworldly intelligence is linked to the power of UAP? As one researcher argued, perhaps enhanced consciousness is a fundamental force of the universe that we haven't developed fully yet in us. And yet, perhaps we are evolving toward that. I'm hoping there's enough goodwill and altruism with these UAPs to help us advance instead of sit idly by and watching us destroy ourselves because, as my hero Gary Nolan says, we're so stupidly fighting for a few acres of land, spending our pennies over trivial nothing compared to what we could be learning and doing. Right? So chalk one up to Lou Elizondo and Gary Nolan on that one. So another interesting thing is, I'm going to go to page 112 here. This one really impressed me, and this is exciting because I hope now that Gary Nolan's research on this can enlarge. I hope more neuroscientists and brain people get on this. You young people, if you're watching this, get interested in science and mathematics and philosophy and learn how to become brain surgeons. There is some spectacular opportunities awaiting you. Go, man, go. Put down the waste of time video games and improve your lives. Become a somebody valuable and important. Listen to this, page 112. After digging through files, Gary Nolan, now one of the great scientists and ufologists, he noticed something. All 105 patients in this particular study that he was doing were high functioning and had high IQs. And he was testing out schizophrenia, autism, autistic people, etc. But the tests came back with a really interesting pattern here, and all had an overdeveloped part of the brain known as the caudate putamen. C-A-U-D-A-T-E, putamen, P-U-T-A-M-E-N. That section of the brain, and it's right, you know, our brain is split in two, and there's a right half and a left half, right? It's right there in the middle, in the center, in the brain. And it's just a small part of the brain. Okay, but this section of the brain is the area that many researchers have begun to associate with intuition. The link has been proposed by some scientists as far back as the 1960s. Let's pick this up and study this, man. This is so fascinating. And the reason why it is because the controversial claims is still disagreed about. Of course, we expect that. Nevertheless, we all have this feature in our brains. Okay, Gary theorized that people with this kind of an enhanced structure might be exquisitely adept at sizing up a situation and drawing conclusions from very sparse information. In other words, some people with a larger caudate putamen were like organic supercomputers. I mean, if that doesn't wet your whistle, nothing will, man. Come on, think about this. Able to process more data than the average person and be more perceptive to things most people wouldn't or couldn't perceive. Is this how chess masters become grandmasters? What about photographic memory? Things like that. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have a photographic memory. Oh my gosh. Ooh, man. So hearing that reminded me of some of the words I had heard said in the past about talented remote viewers. Now he circles back around from this brain research back onto the subject of remote viewing, which has been completely mocked by the likes of Isaac Asimov and Arthur Clarke and Carl Sagan, etc. But they were in the 1940s through the 80s. That's old, outdated science, information, and attitude. Listen to this. Talented remote viewers were said to demonstrate extraordinary judgment and ability to retain and synthesize vast amounts of data, and were often classified as sense makers possessing an uncanny able to predict foresight, predictive foresight, prophecy, if you will. Now, come on. Who were those ancient prophets that we've all mocked and the contemporaries have been mocking? When they prophesied, we don't believe what they wrote down because prophecy can't happen, says us. But now we're discovering that if a part of the brain is larger than normal, that is a very real property. Could they have had an abnormally sized part of that brain? You see, all of a sudden, all of our assumptions, we have got to revisit them. We have to go back and say, look, are we going to be closed-minded and miss this opportunity? Or are we going to drop the stupid assumptions in our ignorance? Assumption one being, well, if it didn't happen to me, it's not possible for anyone. That's bullshit. We have to become more humble, meaning more willing to learn, right? So that the truth can come. This is what I'm talking about. Our shock, that son of a gun. The Bible said it back then. And I've mocked it my whole life. And now here comes science and says, hey, guess what? We've made a discovery about the brain. They can predict after all, and they're very, very, very damn good at it if this part of the brain is larger. That changes everything, man. I'm don't yell at me. I'm just the messenger, but I'm telling you, there is some incredibly interesting things coming out now, man. So, a sixth sense. You go, no, come on. We've only got 5 cents. The sixth sense gets into woo-woo. It does, because not all of us have it, because some of us don't have the larger brain part, but others who might actually have, for real, a psychic sixth sense. Now we have to so this gives us a hint on what to look for. Now we do brain scans, and those people with the bigger brain parts, now we can sift through them. And instead of just having to sift through all the charlatans, we can separate this group of people into a special test group and test their sixth sense. Such is what is happening now in the realm of science. And the other part that is so controversial, that is just absolutely mind-boggling in Elizondo, is the I got to read this to you. Page 114. Several of the senior officials I worked with eventually told me that when one of my colleagues worked at the CIA decades earlier, he was given an official report / autopsy of the dissection of a non-human body that was recovered from an unspecified crashed UAP. And I get it. That's not evidence. But just not for me, not for you. Just because it's in a book doesn't make it true. I am so with you on that. Amen and amen. However, if that really does exist and someday makes the light of day, then what? Then how do we react to this? This is blowing my freaking mind. We have alien bodies that we are dissecting and learning about their biology. How dare you hide that from us? Put that in our biology books and let's start doing comparisons and studying that. Get the photographs, make the diagrams and charts, draw their body parts, explain their functions and stuff, and start giving us the extra knowledge and put that in our books. Quit boring the hell out of us and let's move forward. This would be astonishing to be able to study in relation to our bodies. If we found a specific organ in an alien body that had the ability to heal cancer, and we could clone that organ so that we could eliminate cancer, would we not want that? I mean, the possibilities here just expand like crazy, and it's being kept from us? No, you give us this information. You put this into the quality scientists and biology teachers, etc., and let's start doing some studies on this and share it with the people. Wouldn't you want to know this stuff? I think that would be mind-bogglingly fantastic. Credible sources, including those involved at ATIP, told me the facts from several historical UAP crashes from which non-human bodies were recovered by the United States, in addition to the Roswell crash. Put them all together and start comparing them with our human bodies, and let's see how evolution occurs throughout the concourses of space in alien bodies compared to ours here on Earth. I mean, Why are we not getting this information? That's what I want to know. I'm serious. This belongs to we the people. The government works for us. We're the ones doing the electing. Coming up here in just a few short weeks, who's doing the voting for the next group of officials? We are. We are the ones putting them in power. Then they ought to share the information with us. That's my approach. Now, if you're going to call me un-American for that, I'll fight you like hell on it. Right? This is mind-boggling stuff. Now I want to get to it looks like I'm I'm over an hour already. I am giving it to you. Thank you for putting up with my silliness. But I mean, to me, this is so thrilling, I can't really stand it. But then as you can tell, man, I love to learn. Best thing I've done for myself in my life is use my brain. Be a nerd. I am. Trouble is, I'm just too stupid to be a good nerd. Yeah, they have dissected. Come on. We deserve better than we're getting from our government, damn it, in my opinion. Oh, and this. That I didn't write the page number down? Are you serious? Hold on. Here we go. I've got it right here. I didn't write the page number down. I make, just for my audience sake, just so you know, I'm this kind of a guy. This is the inside of the front cover of my book. This is the other page. I make my own index to my books and paginate them, right? And then I put my own markings in my book so that I can reference to them. I forgot to put the page number, but I do have the marks. So yes, you're welcome that I'm such a goofball. Listen to this. Not me slurping my pop. What I'm about to read to you. In fact, I'm going to write this down. Page 123 is the page number that I should have written down. Hold on while I write that down. Then I'll have it for my next video. Okay, page 123. Okay. Do humans today have vehicles that can do over Mach 5? Yes, we do. And that's grease lightning fast. Mach 1 is the speed of sound. Mach 5, honey, you're screaming. That's zippity-doo-dah, baby. The X-15, the NASA space shuttle, and certain missiles do operate at speeds above Mach 5, but only in the upper atmosphere or in space because the atmosphere is less dense there. So at low altitudes, the air is more dense, which makes high-speed travel exponentially more difficult. So we have a rocket, a jet called the SR-71 Blackbird, and it can just about hit Mach 5 at high altitudes. Made up almost entirely of titanium, we're talking exquisite technology here. Any faster, the aircraft would be incinerated by the heat that it generates. Wow. That's another factor we have to consider, right? So when our aircraft go hypersonic, we usually hear a sonic boom as the sound barrier is broken. There are other associated signatures as well, such as heat ablation and atmospheric ionization, which can likewise be detected by our sensors. UAP, that is the UFOs. If you're not sitting down, whatever you're doing, sit down thine keister. UAPs are routinely clocked traveling at Mach 17 and faster at low altitudes, even at sea level. That's impossible. You're talking 12,000 miles an hour through air. 13,000 miles an hour at low altitudes. And they are routinely clocked at that fast. Instantaneous acceleration from 0 to 13,000 miles an hour in under 6 seconds. We love to brag that our Kia cars that we buy, the Kia, it goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Well, the UAP goes 0 to 13,000 in 1/10 of 1 second. Let that sink in. We are talking vastly superior technology. When they drop from the sky, now 80,000 feet is almost as high as the world record high jump. I get it. It's not quite as high as you would think, 80,000 mere feet. The UAP in 1/10 of 1 second gets to the sea level, goes under the water without splashing, and proceeds to glide under the water at 3,000 miles an hour. And it's not our radar that's goofy. We have developed the finest technical superior radar in existence. It's not because it's our radar that's goofy. It's because these things are really that fast. That's mind-blowing. Come on. Would you love to have a race car like that? No, because you wouldn't be able to steer it. But you would win a Darwin Award. You wouldn't live through it to celebrate it. But hey, at least we would honor you for being the dumbest idiot on the planet for doing that. So here's the other thing. A jet from the Navy starts to turn, and they are going so fast, the weight of the craft, and when it turns, the air, the supporting air from under the wings is less, so that when they turn, they dip down to turn. And if they're going so fast, it takes them half of a mile to turn 90 degrees at 890 miles an hour. The UAP does an instant perpendicular 90-degree turn without slowing down, without dipping. It's a tic-tac. It has no heat signature. It has no wings. And the thing goes instantly. The only thing miracle? How do you describe that? I'm stone cold serious. How do you describe that? All right, alien technology. Cute, real cute, right? For real. It's amazing. There's no sonic booms with the UAPs. And you're, come on. There are no sonic booms. It's mind-boggling. So, and the reason I wanted to share that with you, I'm up to that point now to where, and then hold on, where the evidence lies. And the Air Force does have some of the evidence. Okay. And then he's got pictures. Let's get through the pictures real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to explain this. I promise you'll want to get the book and read this, because all of the anomalies of the Tic Tacs and the UFOs, their speed, they don't burn up through the air, traveling at 13,000 miles an hour, when we know dang good and well the physics call for complete toast over 4,000 miles an hour in the lower atmosphere. And yet these things are doing 13,000 miles an hour. All of the weird anomalies. The hypothesis is that there is a bubble around the craft that nullifies, protects the craft, and nullifies gravity. It's what gives them their speed, their agility, their capability of going underwater. They can stay in the air for 12 hours. Our biggest, best jet craft can maintain altitude. We have to thrust forward to fly. We can maintain our altitude maybe 2 hours. To be very gracious, 4 hours, and I really don't think so unless you are given gas in flight. But for a one tank, I think you can fly through the air for 2.5 hours. These things can be in the air for 12 hours, and there is no exhaust heat. There is no exhaust noise. There is no kind of signature of propelling. There is no kind of signature of a sonic boom or air compression in the direction they're flying, etc., because of this envelope around them. And he goes into great detail in the most interesting chapter, chapter 14, where his friend comes up with the idea. Oh, no. No, I lied. I apologize. It's not chapter 14. What chapter is it? Oh, the next, right here. Chapter 16, the aha moment. This is the best part of the book. For chapter 16, it's worth the money to get the book. Just that one chapter alone. Every chapter is just wow. 16 is a very exciting chapter because of the hypothesis presented, and I won't share it with you. I'll let you buy the book and discover this yourself. I'm not going to ruin the best part of the book for you. If this hypothesis is true, it's no longer, how did he put this? If this, I hope, I had to mark this. Please tell me I marked this. Hold on just one quick sec. He shows charts and pictures to describe what he's describing that are very helpful. I promise you will want to see this. We have, because of this hypothesis he presented, we have an explanation for every single physical anomaly that we as humans on our planet observing the UAPs observe and describe, and that puzzle us and that appear to be contradictory. Every one of our descriptions are answered now, and that means that we are right there to discovering 0-point energy, free energy. We are right on the verge. And this becomes, I didn't mark it. What this becomes now, the challenge now is no longer impossible. It's a technological problem. We now think this hypothesis explains the mechanism. So it's not a knowledge problem anymore. How do they do that? Because this hypothesis he presents answers that question. Now it shifts to not how do they do it, but when can we get it made? Because it's a technological problem. We understand that it is not miraculous. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, you religious-oriented people. I'm one of you. I get it. We're not looking at miracles in the sky. We're looking at technological superiority. That's what we're seeing. That means if we can cooperate worldwide in science finally and quit being so damn short-sighted and warlike, but come together as a humanity team, we can get this. That's worth doing. We have to get out of our tribal thinking. USA number one. USA number one. We have to grow and mature into saying humanity number one. That's where we have to graduate to. We need all of the brains because the Russian scientists are superior to ours in many respects. We also are superior to them in many respects. Same with the Chinese, same with the Japanese, the Indonesians, the Indians, etc. But we all need to get to pool our brains together in a common, unified brotherhood of expanding to the point to where we can be free from hunger and lacking of energy, etc. Isn't that worth pursuing? I would propose yes, it is. That's what we need to mature to. If we don't do that, we genuinely, for lack of a better way to describe this, we face extinction. I want a better world for my children, for my grandchildren. We owe them that. This is not about you and me and acquiring more property or killing the bastards. We have to grow up. We have to quit being so aggressive, man. That's the only way through. To bring this home, and I hate doing this because it seems like I'm getting preachy, and I guess in a way I'm supposed to be. It's part of my job. I don't care what you believe about him. I really don't. You don't even have to believe he existed. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But Jesus got it right. And he wasn't the first one either. But I'm going to use him because culturally, worldwide, his name at least resonates, kind of like Muhammad's, I mean, let's just face, George Washington, pretty much everybody in every country who's literate would know who I'm talking about if I mention the name. Okay, so Jesus got it right. Love one another and forgive your enemies. If you can't forgive your enemies, you have the dumb, short-sighted bullshit that we have right now going on in Israel, and it's been that way since they got back in 1947. There's no peace there because they can't forgive each other. They keep wanting to get revenge, and it's going to destroy us. That's my fear. In a way, I'm losing hope mildly for humanity, and I'm an optimist. I am not a pessimist. Now, Lou Elizondo, he has a negative viewpoint on that. I'm hoping to counteract that. But you got to help me. It begins right here, right now. All 215 of you that's watching right now, it begins right here. Us, we begin to love others and ourselves right here starting tonight. It has to begin somewhere. Let's do this. And then it expands out from there. And I mean genuine love. I mean genuine care and concern. We've got to do it. And hopefully that will spread worldwide. Boy, so I didn't mean to get preachy. I apologize, but I mean the prospect is so exciting, man. There is so much to look forward to. There is so much positive because of this book. Thank you, Lou Elizondo. I'd love to get you on my show, brother. If any of you do know him, tell him the Backyard Professor wants him on his show. I'll see if I can get a hold of him myself also. But, dude, you're just awesome. I'm not even kidding. What a book. What a concept. What an exposition of giving us the larger picture of saying, guess what? We really do have a much better way to live gracefully, peacefully, richly, etc. It doesn't have to be competition to the death over a few sparse acres wasting our money over. It does not. We don't have to keep making weapons with the goddamn technology. We can use that for peaceful purposes, not make bigger frickin' bombs. That's insanely ridiculous. That is too short-sighted. God, we could be making spacecraft and transforming space. We could be going to interstellar space. Don't wait until you're made a god within the theological realm of Mormonism. We can become a god now and go get our own planet. Oh, I said I was going to talk about Mormonism tonight, didn't I? I'll do that another time. Now everybody's going to say, yeah, clickbait, you bastard. You didn't talk about what you said you were going to. Hey, listen, I even have some cool, hold on. Let me do this. Just hold on. Now let me do this. Why not? All right. I had some cool, I got to stop the screen for that one. Okay, let me share the screen again. What's the name of that one? Let me share the screen and I'll share one of these clips with you. You okay if I share a clip with you? Yeah, now everybody's leaving. They think I'm ending. That's because I was. Hold on. Let me share this. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, so do Latter-day Saints believe in aliens? Well, if you type that question into YouTube, you might stumble upon this video from History Channel's Ancient Aliens. Personally, I give it 5 stars for entertainment, but only 2 stars for accuracy.
Now, Moroni did not say that he was an angel. He said that he came from the Pleiades star cluster.
What are you talking about?
So, in an
I mean, come on. That is so funny. I mean, that's fun, right? That's where you get to have a little bit of fun with this religious stuff, because nowhere did Moroni, we've always called him Moroni, right? But nowhere did he ever claim he was from the Pleiades star cluster. I mean, that is hilarious. But the idea now comes, the reality becomes that it's not so odd or off that he's actually an alien. With this bubble around these craft, this is what else I was going to say, and then I'll close on this note. Chris Bledsoe says that the orbs, the colored orbs that float around and visit him, and they visit people that are with him also, they also see it. There are times when the orb will come up to them and stop, and human-like beings step out of the orbs. They're just small orbs, but actual beings step out of them. I mean, teleportation, anyone? This is held by hundreds of eyewitnesses, according to Bledsoe, with people he's had that experience with. This is fantastically interesting. How would you like to have that kind of ability to be able to wrap yourself with an envelope and levitate? You know, Jesus ascended to heaven. Ridiculous. That's an old wives' tale. Is it? Now we think we're getting a grasp of how that actually can work on an individual basis. Whether that bubble around a craft or around a person, what if you could travel that fast safely through space, water, air, etc.? How would that help transform our lives? You could go, if you were in Utah in the United States of America, and we had the alien technology, you could get from Utah to New York in under 1 second. Safely. Now, seriously, would you not like to have that ability? Then why the hell are we allowing our militaries to keep carrying on wars and wasting our opportunity and time and money and resources to kill everybody? Right? I would love to be able to travel anywhere around the world safely without any side effects whatsoever in 1 second. Seriously. That potential is here because of the UAPs. Wouldn't you like to have that? Seriously? No more cars, no more air pollution from gas, no more stopping at automobiles, at gas stations. Just get there and let's get on with our business. Who would not want to do that? Raise your hand. That's what I thought. I didn't see any hands raised. Come on. All right. Hey, thank you for all your support, time, and attention. I appreciate you being here tonight. Much more of this kind of crap to come. You guys have a great time. I will see you in next weekend with other topics. I am going to make some more videos. Some of my UFO videos are going blitzoid crazy, and I love it. It's very interesting. The immense amount of interest that the UAPs are giving us. I love it. It's a discussion whose time has come. I'm in this. So count me in, and we will share as we all learn. So thank you all. Be good. Have fun. Do well. Make lots of friends. Stay safe. And I will see you next week on the videos and next weekend on the BYP Live. Hasta la vista, baby. Now get out of here. Go have a good evening.